Wraps are just the superior form of bread most of the time. By wraps, I mean like tortilla wraps. They're just superior most of the time. They serve the purpose better. Most times when you eat bread, it's because you need something to hold the thing that's the actual meal. For example, let's say uh, bacon and eggs. Oftentimes, people put toast in their bacon and eggs. Why? Because if you don't, you break the yolk, it goes everywhere, you have nothing to soak it up with. Or, for example, a breakfast sandwich. You can't just hold the bacon and eggs and cheese with your bare hands. You need the bread of the sandwich, or any type of sandwich. It's just there to hold the meat or the filling. Or, most of the time, that's just what it is. Um, it's something there to put some distance between two other the main element of the thing. Bread is almost never the main event. It's most of the time it's just something for you to hold on to, or something for you to fill out space. Uh, and wraps are better for that purpose. Holding on to a burrito is much easier than holding on to a sandwich or a burger. Burgers, you know, you lift a burger up, the juices fall out the other side. A burrito has that flap at the bottom, which doesn't do the best job, but it does a better job than nothing of keeping the juices inside. And there's less of it, and it goes all the way around. So you can't tip it in any direction where the fillings are going to fall out. It's on all sides. Plus, there's less of it, as I just said. It doesn't get in the way of the main flavors. It serves its singular purpose of holding what it's supposed to be holding. It's not a bunch of fucking carbs that you don't need, and therefore it doesn't get dry easily. So you can use less liquids in it and focus more on, and you can get a better balance of flavors, because oftentimes you'll eat like a burger, for example, and it's like made of fucking soup because there's a massive bun, right? And if it had no liquid on it, it would be dry because it's all bread. And so the burger turns into a fucking soup because they've put every sauce in the fucking world on it. A bunch of grease. You don't need that with a burrito. You have a little bit, you have enough sauce as you want, and no more and no less. With these wraps, they're the best. However, there is one circumstance where wraps are infinitely worse than bread. And that's the obvious time when bread is the focus of the dish. You never have wraps the focus of the dish. Wraps, or flatbreads in general, so not just tortillas, but also roti, right? There we go, that was my Hindi. That was my little bit of Urdu. A little bit of Urdu coming through. Roti. You got your roti, right? That's just for picking up curry or rice. It's not the meal itself. And that's kind of why it's good, because it's not a bunch of carbs that you don't need. It just stays in its place. But sometimes you want the bread to be the peak of the meal. Sometimes you want that wheat-based thing, and pasta just isn't it. Pasta is basically just bread. Pasta is just weird bread. But sorry, that was a bit of pasta's just weird bread. But sometimes you want a fucking like one of my favorites, right? Basically, the more simple it is. So if you just have scrambled eggs on toast with butter, one of my absolute all-time favorite meals. Scrambled eggs, 2 eggs. I don't have 3, too much. So 2 eggs on toast, maybe a bit of cheddar cheese on it as well. But that's an optional. That's optional. It does improve it, but you don't need it. You can change that meal up, completely change the feel of the meal depending on what bread you use. I've tried it. Now the peak of it is sourdough, white sourdough bread. White sourdough bread with fucking scrambled eggs on top it's actually the peak of human achievement. But you can also have weird, well, they're not that weird, but your more specialized breads. For example, your crumpets, which are really only a thing in the UK. But crumpets are great with eggs, especially with scrambled eggs. And the reason is because there's certain combinations of foods in this world that are so classic that they're almost a given. Bacon and eggs is one example. You know, you got the carbonara, for example. Like, all bacon and eggs is just a standard thing. Of course, you're gonna have if you're gonna have bacon, and you're like, what should I have with this bacon? The first thing that comes to your mind is eggs. Bread has a similar thing, but even stronger. If you have bread, you gotta have butter. You gotta have butter. Butter doesn't work with wraps. It doesn't work because they don't absorb it. It just sits on top. But with bread, you got fucking crumpets, mate. You got fucking crumpets. Crumpets are built, if you don't know what a crumpet really is, it's a small bit of bread about like kind of circular, like that, about this thick maybe a bit thicker, and the bread is porous, it has holes in it, it's very light and airy, it has holes in it, and that means that when you put butter on it and it's toasted and warm, the butter melts into the crumpet, so it's all throughout it, and it's amazing, and you don't need anything else. I often have poached or fried eggs with crumpets because of that very reason, that the yolk pierces into the crumpet and it's delicious. Can't do that with a wrap. And there's all these different types of breads. So that's just two types. What about some brown, some really dense rye bread like they used to eat in the fucking Middle Ages? Some dense, like, brown bread. That shit has its own entirely separate flavor profile. Now you get this like earthy kind of fibrous texture and flavor in there with the scrambled eggs, and that completely changes it, especially if it's dense, because now it's like you're eating something more hearty. It feels like it's going. It's how do I explain it? It's like when you put the eggs on top of it, it's like the eggs are a light thing on top, and then you got the dark thing on the bottom. Whereas with white bread, it's like a whole thing. It's like one homogeneous cloud with butter. And that's why I'm using scrambled eggs as an example, because scrambled eggs, if you don't know, should always be made with a fuck ton of butter. That's how you make them good. And I also like a lot of pepper. There's my information of the day. I really like black pepper. I put loads of it, probably too much for most people. So there, but these are edge cases. These are edge cases. Most of the time, bread is not better than a wrap. These are only the times when the bread is the focus. Or, you know, if you're just having toast, something toast. Like, for example, I already talked about bread and butter being the staple over here, and in Australia, we've got Marmite and Vegemite as a cultural staple. You get some bread, you put some Vegemite or Marmite on it, and that's a fucking snack or a breakfast or a meal or something. You can't do that with a wrap. You would never put Vegemite on a wrap, because the Vegemite overpowers it. This is when you want that ratio of something thick. You don't want that with a wrap, and the wrap won't absorb it. It'll just sit on top. It'll be awful. You can imagine. Don't do it. But with bread, it's perfect. It's made for that. However, sometimes things that you think wouldn't work better with a wrap. Like the reason I'm doing this video in the first place. Because I just had, as a cultural staple in the UK, it's not exclusive to the UK, but it's definitely something that British people, for some reason, decided to claim ownership over, even though it exists all over the world. It's the bacon sandwich. It's just a bacon sandwich, is what it sounds like. 2 pieces of bread, bacon in the middle. Right? I just had a bacon wrap, exact same construction, put some ketchup on it, but in a wrap instead of a sandwich. It's just better. It's just better, because you get bacon, and not just all fucking bread. And it's not dry, because there's ketchup on it, and there's not a ton of bread everywhere, and the bacon doesn't fall out. You take a bite, right, then you pull away, and a whole piece of bacon comes with you when you're eating from a fucking sandwich. doesn't happen in a wrap because you're biting through the whole thing. I don't know why it doesn't happen, but it doesn't happen. It's just the superior format. And therefore, don't sleep on wraps. Most things that you can do with bread, you can do with wraps equally good or not. But you have to have the judgment to know when you got to stick with the traditional method and go with breads. When the dish is about the bread, you got to stick with the bread. You can't go with a wrap in that case. You can't. You'll fuck it up for everyone involved. You just can't do it. You'll ruin it. You got to go with bread. But when you don't got to go with bread, if you have any doubts, if there's even a tiny bit of doubt, the bread is the best option. Wrap it up, baby. Wrap it up, baby. Okay, this is gonna be a very quick and reasonably pointless cooking video. Well, I'm just gonna make some scrambled eggs as a quick snack. There's nothing special about my scrambling egg technique. Hold on a minute. Yeah, there's nothing particularly special or interesting about my technique or anything really worth sharing at all. Gonna toast that bread for a bit longer. So first let's beat these eggs. I guess I'll just do it here. 2 eggs. Using these Burford Browns, very nice brand of eggs. They're quite big, but they're actually medium sized, technically. Break the eggs into the bowl. Don't get any shell in because that would be embarrassing on video. I did wash my hands before this. Oh no, I'm gonna get some shell in that. No, I didn't. Based. Based on what? Wash your hands afterwards. Egg. These toasties. No, not quite toasty enough. I like my toast. Actually, that should be good. Plate. Yeah, that's good. That's well toasted. I'm using some nice white sourdough bread. Butter that shit. I know this may be slightly annoying because you can't see me buttering the bread, but trust me, I'm just buttering it. There's really nothing interesting going on right now. Just bread and butter. It's a nice bread though. I had a little bit. I had a little bit of this in there. This is not enough butter. Need a little more. I kind of suck at spreading butter, which is another reason I'm not showing it on camera. I don't know why. I've never been able to do it very well. It feels like something that should be easy, but for some reason I struggle with it. Fortunately, it seems to have all gone well. Nice even coating of butter everywhere. Right now on the plate like that. That should be good. Now let's get these eggs ready. Is that shell? I can't tell if that's... Yeah, I think that's a tiny bit of shell that I just noticed. Fuck, the one thing I didn't want to happen on camera. I swear to God, I normally don't get shell in there. Also, it's... Okay, yeah, this was pretty easy to get out though. There we go. Boop. Beat the eggs together. Let's get some salt and pepper in there first. Those fuckers who say don't season your eggs before you put them in, it's bullshit. There's no evidence behind that. It's a myth by old French dudes. You may notice I'm doing quite a lot of pepper. See if I can maybe like that. Sorry, you're upside down now, but it doesn't really matter. I really like pepper. I really like black pepper. I put a lot of it. Now, I'm actually not going to salt the eggs, and you'll see why in a second. Beat the eggs. There we go. Could go a little longer. It doesn't have to be perfectly incorporated. Oh yeah, I should. That looks good to me. So I should talk a little more about how my technique is for this. So, I used to be of the mindset, let's turn this back. Oops. I used to be of the mindset that French style, very slow, low and slow, very soft, runny, gooey style of scrambled eggs was the objectively superior one. But as I've grown older and wiser, I now prefer not only the convenience but also the texture of the more rustic, hot and fast scramble. This is a bit of olive oil. Now, olive oil may be a little controversial because you can taste the olive oil in the final product. This is also a fuck ton of butter. I didn't need that much olive oil. I put the olive oil in because the butter will get smoky if I don't. I don't want the butter to brown. Now here's where I salt it. I actually salt the pan, salt the olive oil, the salt and the butter, the salt kind of homogenizes into there. This is on a high heat in a cast iron pan. That's why I have a lot of fat so the eggs don't stick. You may think it's too much butter or something. Firstly, there's no such thing as too much butter. But secondly, this pan isn't very non-stick. So a lot of fat in the bottom will do its best to mitigate the the stickiness. That seems good to me. Now this will be done very, very quickly. I am actually going to put, I know I'm crazy, but you will see. Oh fuck, I just spilled a little bit. Well, this is not hot enough either. It'll do. That'll do. Now, here's my craziness. I'm going to put even more black pepper in. I just love black pepper. And then we'll start with the mixing. This will be done super quick. This is almost done already. Turn the heat off. And done. As much off the pan as possible because it still sticks no matter what you do. And now let's do this real quick. Clean up a bit of egg that I dripped in there. Ouch. Hot. Okay. Grab a fork. Grab a knife. Arrange this a little bit nicer. And there you have it. There is your scrambled eggs on toast. Final, oh fuck, exposure. Doesn't look that great on camera. These eggs are kind of orange. The yolks are very orange, which I think is a good thing. Tastes very good. There you go. It's simple. It's completely simple. Let's give it a taste, shall we? It's perfect. You can definitely taste the olive oil. I know some people don't like that, but I don't mind it. Now, of course, optionally you can add cheese. Optional cheddar. I'm not going to this time, but I often do. So there you go. I'm going to talk to you about my brief forays onto the roof of my old school before I got kicked out a long, long time ago. My entire history with the roof of this building. My school was strange. It was split into two buildings. One was the normal core subjects building, and then down the road you'd have to walk out of the school gates, turn, walk for about 2 minutes, then there was a big dual carriageway road that you would cross and then turn down this hill, walk again for about 2 more minutes, and then you would get to the other building, which was, it had the music stuff, it had the art stuff, it had like woodwork, woodshop type of stuff, and some other things. The drama hall, the big hall where assemblies would take place, right? That building. Oh, and also we had our English lessons there at one point. Don't know why, but that building was, you couldn't get to the roof. It was too big. It was multi-story and fucked. But the first building, the one with the core classes in it, mostly, had a very strange layout. It almost felt like it was kind of a hodgepodge of different buildings stuck together. For example, so the whole building was sort of an L shape, or like a right angle. It was a big section, and then a corner, and then another big section. Except that these two sections, you could not walk from one to the other. Or actually, yeah, you just couldn't, there was no door connecting them. If you wanted to go from this room to this room, you'd have to walk out and then go up a set of stairs that was on the outside of the building like a fire escape to get into the top of the other room. And then there was a library that also didn't connect to any other room, despite being directly next to... Oh no, wait. There was a... No, there wasn't a way. There's one door to the library. It was a really fucking weird building. And then there was another room that was another completely separate building around the back that was like a small shed where we would do maths classes. Baffling. Oh, and there was toilets. The toilets were another completely separate building that was just next to the maths classroom. It was really weird setup. I never even thought about it being so weird before. Either way. So because these buildings were separated, there was a lot of stairs going everywhere. And one of the stairs was, you would... There was a classroom on top of the library where we do English and sometimes other things like history. And that classroom had a staircase that went out the back by the toilets. But if you were on that staircase, there was a roof here. Like, you would be walking down the staircase from the second level, or the first floor if you're English. Yeah, okay. Side note, in England, we have buildings stupid. We count buildings like programmers count. We count from zero. So in America, it makes sense. There's first floor, second floor, third floor, whatever. In England, ground floor, first floor, second floor, it doesn't make any fucking sense. So sometimes I'll say first floor, but because I've spent so much time around American media, I will say first floor and second floor interchangeably, and it confuses people, including me. So I mean the second floor in American vernacular. you would go down these stairs, and there was a small building you could get on top of. Basically, around waist height on the stairs, there was a barrier, like a railing for the stairs. But then you could, if you were to theoretically jump over the barrier, you would be on top of a section of the library, on the roof of a section of the library. And weird thing is that if you were to then cross that section of the library, you'd end up in a small section in the playground where there were a few benches and the bike lockers, where the bike lockers were. Now, the reason this all started is because me and my friend at the time, my singular friend, who were both doing, we were both into cards. We were both into cards, and so at lunchtime, at lunch break, our routine was we'd go to the cafeteria, we'd get some food, pasta, normally, or whatever, and then we would go to this back corner because neither of us liked to play sports particularly at lunchtime because it made your uniform all sweaty and then you had to wear it for the rest of the day. I'm going to put these down because it's just going to distract me and you. Also, it's not a full deck, so all my muscle memory's fucked. We would walk around to this little back area with the benches, which no one really sat in because nothing interesting would happen back there. It was and we would then, there were these, I don't even remember how the fuck we got up there actually. Somehow we would sit on top of the bike lockers around this corner because teachers couldn't really see around the corner. Normally they wouldn't patrol that far, so you could sort of be around this corner out of the view of the teachers sitting on the bike lockers playing cards, listening to, I don't know, music off my phone or whatever. Normally various things, I don't remember what we would listen to. Bob Marley, because we had both just discovered weed. So yeah, we would sit there playing cards, and that bike locker will come back much later in the story. But essentially, from that bike locker, it was only a small step up to get onto the roof, and so inevitably one day, one of us dared the other one to go on the roof. I don't remember who started it. I don't remember who was the first to do it. I believe I was the first to do it, but I don't remember. You have to remember, for most of my life, I was a completely different person to I am now. I was extremely extroverted and also extremely autistic. So I would do completely I had no ability. This is why I value thinking about your actions so much nowadays, because for most of my life I was incapable of thinking about my actions before I did them, and it fucked me up. I did loads of stupid shit, so I was very impulsive. That's the word. I was very impulsive, and so I'm assuming it was me, because that sounds about right, who was like, what's this? And I got up and ran across the roof really quickly because I was super scared. I ran across the roof over to where the stairs were, came down the stairs, looped around the other side, and met up with my friend like, ha, bitch. And I was like, whoa, you can go on the roof? That's crazy. And so, over time, our roof adventures became more and more dangerous, or obvious. We became more and more comfortable with the idea that you could get onto this roof. So we went from occasionally just sort of giggling, running across this roof for a joke, to spending more time up there and hanging out up there, because no one could see the bike lockers, but no one would look up to that section of the roof, except if someone was coming out of the classroom that the stairs led down from. Then you would be fucked, because it was completely out in the open from that angle. But from everywhere else in the school, you couldn't see it. So yeah, but we still wouldn't stay up there for long, because it's too dangerous. If you get caught by a teacher up there, God knows what would have happened. So we would sort of hang out there, do something, run back down, whatever. An occasional thing. And sometimes it would be good if you were skipping class or something, because you could walk outside, and then none of the teachers would assume you would be over where you were, because they would assume you went down the stairs. So you could walk out, quickly dodge across the roof, and then the teachers would be like, where did he go? Yes, I did that. So, as time goes on, we get more and more daring. Eventually, we're like, we gotta go up to the tall roof, because this roof is just a small section on top of the library, but there's a fire escape ladder that goes up to the top proper roof of the whole building. So we're like, it's gotta happen at some point, right? So one day, we both arranged to skip class at the same time. Actually, yeah, we were both in the same class, but we both arranged that we're both asked to go to the toilet, and leave the class and then meet up over by the roof and go up the fire escape, because you can see it's the roof of the whole building. So if we did it at lunchtime or something, someone might have spotted us from the playground. So we were like, no, we got to do this during class when no one's outside. And so that's what we did. We climbed up there. At first, it was just climb. The first thing I did was climb up there and just look, and then go back down. This was before we both arranged to do this. I climbed up there and looked and went back down. I don't remember what I saw, just the roof, I guess. And then, yeah, we went up on the roof that time, and we just sort of stood up there, and we were like, well, we're on the roof of the school. Huh. And then we went back down, because it was kind of boring. There's literally nothing, it's just the roof, there's nothing there. Later, we went back up another time, and my friend had brought a graffiti, one of those ink pens, like paint pens that they use for graffiti, and he did a tag on the roof. I think that happened. I may be hallucinating that, but I'm pretty sure that happened. I don't think I was there though. I think he just showed me at another time. I'm not sure. Either way, then one day we're doing the standard sitting on the bike lockers thing, and I'm like, I'm gonna go to the toilet. It's faster to get to the toilet going over the roof rather than going all the way around. So I just, yeah, that was a pretty normal thing to do. So I would just go over the roof, and then someone opens the door and sees me on the roof from the classroom. The one time it happened when I was just going to the toilet, he sees me on the roof. He's like, "What the fuck? Get that!" He doesn't say what the fuck, but I got in huge trouble. And then the problem was, when I got in trouble, my friend also got in trouble, because we weren't even supposed to be sitting on the bike sheds. Oh, they didn't know we were doing that. So I got in big trouble for that. I don't remember what happened, but I got in big trouble for that. And we sort of didn't go on the roofs anymore, because now the teachers were wary, and they would sort of they would make sure to wander just far enough that they could see we were still there. And they would sort of let us off sitting on the bike sheds, but they really didn't want us going on the roof. So that's the story of the roof of the building. Now, I said the bike sheds would come back, and that is because we used to sit on those bike sheds every day. It's basically our spot. Now again, I have to stress this. I used to be essentially a completely different person back then. I had an entirely different personality. My interests and hobby, everything was entirely different. I looked completely different. I spoke completely different. Everything was different about. I'm a completely different person now. It's almost, you would not recognize me if you knew me from back then. I was so extroverted and I wouldn't think before I did anything. It was crazy. Sort of person. I actually, best way to explain it, I was Asuka from Evangelion. When I first watched Evangelion, it fucked me up, because Asuka is exactly who I was back then. I had the exact same personality of Asuka, except I didn't want to. Well, no, I even had the weird not being able to quite understand my own feelings, romantic feelings to other people, and behaving strangely to them because I didn't understand what to do. Pretty much entirely Asuka. So and you know how Asuka is an annoying bitch? That was me. Yeah, bad person. So hopefully that you can forgive me for this. So then one day, where maybe I shouldn't tell this story actually. You know, I'm just gonna not tell that story, and you can just have it in your mind, because it's not really that interesting anyway. Essentially, uh, we were we got some teacher who wasn't used to us being on the bike lockers saw us on the bike lockers, and we never sat up there again for various reasons involving some other things. Maybe I'll explain it one day, but that's a whole other story. So there you go. There's the history of me and the roof of my old school. Trying to think if we have anything else from that time. No, that's it. That's the story. With a detective show, there is a well written detective story. You, the reader, should be 0.5 steps behind the detective. Sometimes you should be ahead of the detective. Sometimes you should be maybe even 1.5 steps behind the detective. But it should average out to you being 0.5 steps behind the detective in solving the case. Therefore, you will always be trying to solve the case, and you'll almost get there, but the detective will, in the end, have that revelatory moment where it all slots into place, and you're like, ah, that's what I was missing. Oh, that makes so much sense. Gosick never hits this balance. Either the deductions are so esoteric that there is no possible way anyone watching would have deduced that themselves, and so it's essentially just a superpower on the part of the detective, or the stories are so obvious that you're just like, come on, why haven't you figured this out yet? It's so obvious. Isn't this supposed to be your talent? What the fuck are you doing? It's so obvious. It's like, look at this for 10 seconds. It's so clear, and it's frustrating. At no point does the show hit the delicate balance of the detective show properly. So when I say I don't like Ghostig, you should be very much listening to me. Because if you know my taste in anime, and if you know my taste in aesthetics, you know I have watched multiple shows from episode 1 to the end because purely they have a gothic Lolita character in them. That is all I care about. Multiple shows I have watched on that one characteristic. And every time I'm trying to find a gothic Lolita anime character, right, Gothic comes up. And so when I say I can't stand Gothic, you should take that very seriously because the main character is exactly the style, the aesthetic that I like. And yet the show is so shit. The script is so shit, specifically. The script, specifically the mysteries, are so shit that it's trash and rubbish and fucking awful. What the fuck is my position in all of this? What hole do I fill with my massive futa cock? This was supposed to be serious. I instantly turned it into a futa joke. But seriously, ish. What hole do I fill? Where do I little puzzle piece, Autism Speaks puzzle piece fit into all of this shit, right? Okay. So like I came into this area section of YouTube just after I'm only realizing now how just it was after a bunch of shit had gone down and everything had sort of collapsed. And I was sort of, but I wasn't aware of any of that. And so everyone, it was just really weird because I was trying to like be a part of this place and everything had sort of just fallen apart. And at the same time, it was that place was super influenced by another place, the procrastinators, that was also weird at the time, and also my relationship with it was weird at the time. I was just noticing that it wasn't as good as I was sort of deluding myself into thinking it was good because there was a lot of it, and because it think it mostly because there's a lot of it and it appeals to my databasing autism. Uh, but then I realized it was so that happened. So then I was sort of figuring that out, and then I'm making music, and I was supposed to be cyberpunk, but then I was kind of got bored of cyberpunk because punk is not really a sustainable thing. No one, no one stays. If you're a punk, right? It's like a meme in punks that the old punks are either pathetic or they become like they start playing folk music. That's the only thing you can do if you're a punk. You either die of a drug overdose when you're like 25, you become that one old guy at the show who's like clearly too old for this shit and just sort of standing with their arms crossed, or even worse, is clearly too old for this shit, but trying to pretend they're still young, or you become a folk guitarist, in a folk band. Like that's how it goes when when you get older as a punk, and as an accelerated human being, and the only human being. I've been playing with my hair a lot recently because I'm not really comfortable with any of it. I've never been comfortable with hair. I have lots of problems with hair. Sorry, that's a tangent. But one day I will talk about my problems with hair. Um, so punk, like I was supposed to be kind of punk. But my first album only really has like two punky songs. Volume one only has a couple of punky, like properly what I would call punk songs. And then volume two is much more cyberpunk, but it's also not because the scale is too grand. It's almost proggy. Like some of the songs are almost proggy, or psych rock, King Gizzard inspired. And they're supposed to be experimental, but then like where am I experimental? And and it's like now I'm like a SoundCloud. Now I'm like a SoundCloud. Now I'm like 100 gex SoundCloud. But I'm not really that person. That album was a like post-structuralist commentary on that culture, not an attempt to break into that culture. I don't like that. I don't like it. And even if I did at one point, which I did, I'm done with it now. So now what do I do? Where do I do? I've got my own things going on. I'm making stuff, but it's not going to appeal to any of the people who have found me because of my SoundCloud stuff, which is where I'm most popular. This stuff is going to completely, it's too different. And I'm breakcore. I'm also breakcore Akazi, and Akazi big, weird, Akazi known, breakcore known, Akazi strange, Akazi albums, money on labels, money, give me money. I've made money. Akazi tracks, one album, one day made like £60. Akazi tracks on label. But Akazi serious? Question mark. Don't know. Am I do I fit into the break? I don't really feel like I ever fit into the breakcore. I mean, I'm friends with a lot of these people that are in the similar scene. Like, I talk to them pretty regularly on Discord and stuff, but I still feel kind of like an outsider, uh, in that whole thing. Uh, and then I'm not really the SoundCloud thing either, and I'm not like local scene at all because I don't leave my room. And I'm kind of not punk anymore, but am I kind of metal? But like, am I metal? Because I don't like most metal. And am I black metal? Am I doom? Am I sludge? Can I even make music? What even is music? Is music even? And then my YouTube? Am I vlogs? Am I anime? Am I philosophy? Am I schizo posting? Am I neat core? And where do I fit into that whole thing? No one's gonna watch it. Like, there's no appeal to my channel. You click on a video and it instantly makes you want to click off of the video. Am I just making self-indulgent bullshit to impress me and a couple of friends? Sometimes, but sometimes I'm not. But the problem is, I don't know. I don't know when I'm doing which one. Because my entire perspective on humanity is entirely warped. Because I don't understand people at all. I just don't understand them. I fully don't. So there's no way for me to know such a thing. And then I'm like, in other places, I'm a sort of guy. I'm a sort of guy in other places, which I can't go into too much detail, but I'm a sort of guy in other places, but I sort of hate those places. But I can't tell if those places also hate me, or if everyone in those places kind of hates those places. And so I'm sort of a guy over there, and I'm sort of a guy in the real world with like a real life happening with parents and a family and friends ish, and that's a person who exists. And then I'm the anime guy. I'm the guy that watches a lot of anime. But am I do I even like? I don't like most anime. I don't like a lot of things that people like about anime. I don't like shonen, for example. Uh, so am I the anime guy or am I just the slice of life guy? But I don't just like slice of life. but then I don't like a lot of art house stuff as well. I find it a lot of it's kind of boring. Like Angel's Egg is really well animated. It looks amazing. It's super well directed and it has deep themes, but it's actually kind of boring and slow to watch. I don't think anyone would really argue against that. It's clearly quite boring and slow to watch. Am I that? What do I even like? What do I even like? I thought I knew, but but it's weird because you can't watch just things that you if you really okay, for example, Synecdoche, New York is my favorite movie. I would not want every movie to be Synecdoche, New York because it's too intense. You can't just consume. I tried for a while that I would only consume deep content. I talked about this a long time ago in a video called "Why Do You Like Anime So Much?" If every movie was like Synecdoche, New York, I would have killed myself by now because that movie's so depressing. You I don't want every movie to be like that. I don't want every anime to be Malice Doll, right? I don't want, but at the same time, I don't want every anime to be, I don't know, Josh Karu, some like seasonal slice of life type of situation, or Mitsudomai. I don't want every anime to be that either, but it's not, and neither is the case. I don't know. I don't know. Where do I fit in? Who am I? What's my place? What's my place in all of this? I don't understand how people work. That's the problem. And there's no way for me to understand how people work. It's not like, oh, I just need to make more friends or whatever, because it's just circular. If you don't understand it, you can't do it. But also, from what I do understand, it doesn't seem interesting to me at all. It just seems boring at best and actively harmful at worst. What's this? What's going on here? What's the point of why am I doing this? This is more like the original meaning of a vlog. It's a video blog. It's kind of like you would use a blog, right? Just as a sort of public diary. But it's not really, but it is a bit. It's very strange. It's very strange. Um, am I, there's all these places. There's all these places. I'm always in these places and I don't ever feel like I belong in any of them. I have like, it feels like everyone else has connections. Everyone else exists in a place naturally, whereas everywhere I go feels like I'm intruding on it. Everything I do, it feels like I am an outsider intruding on the spaces of the people that were always there in some natural way. Even the places that I'm relatively accepted in and have been in for years, I still feel like even if I'm not, even if I've been there for years and years, I still feel like the new guy. Still feel like the new guy because I'm never at the start of these things. I'm never at the start of these things. I'm always joining, and sometimes I'll find something, and an aspect of it's really cool. I'll find a place, and an aspect of it's really cool. I'm thinking I have a specific example in mind, but I'm not going to say what it is. But I found a place that's you might find a place, and a certain part of it is like, whoa, this seems really cool. Let me investigate further because there seems to be something deeper going on here, and there is something deeper going on here. But then there's also a whole other section, a whole other side to it, or a whole other. The people involved have an entirely different attitude to how you thought they were, and it doesn't make sense. How do I reconcile these two aspects of something, or maybe many more aspects, because it's all just made up of people who are all their own weird things, and everyone's trying to sort of stand out because that's what you can do when you're on the internet. You kind of there's no if you're gonna if you don't want to stand out, you would just sort of lurk, right? That's what I do in a lot of places. I just lurk, which I feel like is an attitude that has been lost. But I always take the phrase lurk more to heart. Whenever I find some place, I spend a long time just chilling there, reading other people's posts, at least a week, or something like that. If it's something like that sort of website, so I can understand the atmosphere. but I don't understand the atmosphere anyway. I still feel like I'm intruding, emulating the way I think it should go. I don't know. I don't understand it. It just feels like everyone already knows each other or something. Like, I'm always someone who isn't supposed to be there. I'm never supposed to be anywhere. I don't, it's like, even the places that I created, even the environments that I created, they always evolve into something that I don't fit into. Someone said to me, like, I forgot who said this. Someone said that I'm very alienated. I barely even show up my own Discord server. I barely interact with my fans or anything. And it's weird to think that they're fans. I don't like thinking of people like that. But it's true. I never, like, people ask me questions on SoundCloud or on YouTube comments, and I never reply. Almost never. Sometimes I do. Depends on various factors, but I almost never reply to questions or comments on anything or anything like that. I don't, because it doesn't feel like my place. It doesn't feel like my place. Which I guess means I am alienated from all that shit. The real question is, why do any of you care? I don't understand the appeal. I used to think I understood the appeal. But now there is no appeal. There is no appeal. I don't know what's going on with me. I don't understand the shape. I don't understand my shape. I mean, I understand my shape, but it doesn't tessellate. It doesn't tessellate at all. It may even be non-Euclidean. It doesn't make any sense. And that's weird is that... Yeah, whatever. Like, other people who also have similar problems, that doesn't actually mean that we have anything in common. Because just because let's say you have, I don't know. I think I summed it up. Okay, I don't know if you guys keep up with modern SoundCloud trends and the up and coming wave of new young musicians and new music on the rise as much as I do. And I don't even keep up with it that much, but I'm in the know a bit. But you'd probably realize, so the current wave, the current trend, this is the direction it's going. What if we took like late 90s, early 2000s poppy, ravey, poppy, trancey aesthetics and soundscapes, atmospheres, but gave it this like dark twist, so it's kind of the same aesthetics but with a sort of kind of depressing tone, and then it also has sort of and then also mixed it with the modern trap and drill and dark trap and that sort of shit sounds. So we sort of squashed together this late 90s, early 2000s rave sound with the sort of trap sound, and then we also have it like a tint of like goth punk aesthetics over top of it, and it's all got this sort of tinged in this lo-fi bedroom producer kind of atmosphere, kind of amateurish on purpose kind of situation, with the sort of the gothy punky with the trap with the rave sounds. We already did this. What was Crystal Castles? What was Witch House? We already did this. We did it already. We did it in like 2012 and like 2013. We already had this. The only difference is this is fast and Witch House was slow. But... oh my gonna get there. I'm gonna get there. I've forgotten the word. Ontologically? That's not the word I'm looking for. It's one of those fancy philosophy words. They're the same thing. They say the same thing. They do it in very slightly different ways. You know, Witch House slightly more 90s, modern slightly more 2000s. So we're talking the difference between like 2 or 3 years versus worth of nostalgia here, literally. And one of them is more focused on being more Nightcore inspired. That's the only difference. But they're saying the exact same thing. They're saying the exact same thing phenomenologically. I'm just saying words. I'm just saying words. I don't know what they mean. I'm just saying words. I don't know what they mean. But they mean the same thing. The two genres. You're just doing it again. You just do something different. Do something different. You're just doing the same thing you did already. No. You can't just do the same thing. It's just Witch House. It's just Witch House. To answer the question, the burning question, that for some reason I've never seen anyone actually answer this. So there's sort of a problem, question, noticeable incident within where when it comes to anime, everyone has their own distinct tastes, and you can talk to someone and they could hate a show that you love, but when it comes to favorites, as in not just I like that show, I dislike that show, but my favorites, my top 10 or whatever of all time, 3x3 of all time, everyone's 3x3s are weirdly homogenous. As in, almost everyone has your sort of Lane, Ava, Utena. If they like shonen, probably Ashton or Joe or Hunter x Hunter. If they like slice of life, almost certainly K-On! That sort of thing, and then maybe a few specialized shows scattered around. Your fucking Kasami Galaxy type of shit. You probably have to have a Masaki Yuasa show on there. That sort of thing. And, some people think that's because anime fans are all boring and they just go with what's popular or what they think is cool to like or something like that. No one's talking about how that's just because there isn't that much great anime. There's loads of good anime, but there's very few great anime. And that's the same in every medium. So why don't you see this with film fans? Why is it pretty accepted that film fans will probably have a completely different top 10 films of all time rather than anime fans who generally share a lot of the same shows even if they have their own small differences? Because there's just more diversity in film. Anime only comes from one country. Film comes from practically every country on Earth. Almost certainly every country on Earth. Like, for example, I don't know, India. Everyone thinks of India, Bollywood. There's actually a huge non-Bollywood musical film scene in India for a long time. And some of it's really amazing. And I've never seen any of it, but I know from my film friends that there's some really amazing shit. Obviously, Russian film is classically amazing. The American industry is only just happens to be the most popular, but you got French cinema, which has its own whole deal. Japanese cinema has its own whole deal. And that's just also film's been going on for over 100 years, and has way more money and public funding. Public funding, sorry, but just money in general and people, loads of people. You could go and if you watch a Hollywood film, you may see, apart from the executives and like the producers and stuff, but it's not unlikely to see a Hollywood film with hundreds of people, multiple hundreds of people who have worked on it in the credits, and not be able to draw an arbitrary connection from that film to another film that came out the year before or something. Whereas in anime, you've got a very, very insular industry where everyone works together and takes ideas from each other. It's a very small industry where if you find a show, you can instantly draw connections between someone who worked on that show and a show from last year or whatever. Like, everyone works on everything because it's a small insular industry. It only comes from one country. It's a small industry that only comes from one country that has way less money and talent pumped into it because it's just a niche product. So, of course, it stands to reason that when you have all those things, there would be less things that immediately stand out to be the greatest of all time. Uh, that's why there's fewer anime that are all-time greats that appear on everyone's favorites list. There are these, just like these certain shows that appear on everyone's favorites list, because there just isn't the same level of oversight in anime. When you make a film, you're expecting to make billions of a good film. So everyone, everywhere, is super staring at the product. They're very much paying attention to what you're doing. And it's like, when you write a book or something, you have an editor to go through it. With a film, everyone who's working on it is acting as an editor, and there's often hundreds of people working on a film, and some of them, there's a lot of effort, right? There's a lot of people's money riding on this product being good. So they generally, if a film is really trying to say something profound, like, I don't know, like Lane does or something, if a film is trying to go the route of being an all-time great, because most films don't try, like the Avengers films are not trying to be the all-time greatest, I don't know, Godfather 2 or something, but when you get a film like that, it's because everyone knew that that's what they were trying to make, and that's the best way they could do it, and there was millions and millions of dollars pumped into it. And anime only mostly relies on 10,000 or so dedicated fans, only of which 1,000 or so will actually buy DVDs to keep it running, and they make a tiny profit off of it, and it's a small industry with only a few people working on it, and those people are super talented and they make some amazing things, but there's just not that many people. There's just not enough people, and it doesn't make sense for there to be more than that amount of people, because the industry is small and niche and cultish. So there's just not that many people, therefore there's not going to be that much diversity in their work. It's just how it is. There's not a problem with anime fans all liking the same things, although that is its own problem. But your shows, Lane is as close, in my opinion, to objectively good as you can get. Evangelion is as close, in my opinion, to an objectively good show as you can get. Although I know a lot of people have complaints with. I know people who think Lane is just like, it's pretty good, but it's not 10 out of 10. I know people who think Ava is trash. So even that idea that everyone has the same taste is nonsense, because a lot of people dislike Evangelion. People don't like. It's all bullshit. The entire premise of the question is based on false pretenses that you shouldn't assume anyway, and it's a very selective look at a selective group of fans, the people who care about top tens or post on my anime list or do 3x3s on 4chan. It's just a small section of an already tiny industry. It's bullshit. The whole premise is bullshit. Eggs, a staple of my life. Holy shit. Wow. That was just incredible. That was just an incredible experience all around. Anyway. Eggs. I love eggs. Eggs are one of my favourite. They probably are my favourite protein food. So I'm gonna analyze eggs right now. I'm gonna analyze all the different types of eggs. First, we're gonna go with my current favourite, scrambled eggs. Arguably my current favourite. Scrambled eggs. Now, there's two varieties. I consider scrambled eggs to come in two separate use case varieties. Hot and fast scrambled eggs and low and slow French style scrambled eggs. These two things, they're both scrambled eggs, but they serve completely different purposes in my life. My current favourite is hot and fast. This way, you heat the pan up with plenty of butter in it, and I do a little bit of olive oil. You've seen it. I did it in this video. You've seen it. You get these bigger curds. You get bigger curds, and it's if you do it and you don't scramble them too crazily, right? It's almost like lots of mini omelets. It's kind of a unique thing. And sometimes if you do it, if you get it, I don't even know how I manage this when I do manage it, but if you get it right, it can be like each curd is hard on the outside, or not hard, but like kind of harder on the. It's like it's got a shell, and when you bite into it, it's gooey on the inside and delicious. Uh, these ones they like salt more. They should be more salt. They should be more heavily seasoned with salt and pepper than the French style of scrambled eggs. It's a more intense flavor. It's a more intense bite, and therefore you get this. And the fact that they're so fast to cook, it's generally like a more rustic kind of situation. And they have this because they're dry. They're very easy to. Well, they're not dry. They shouldn't be dry, but they're less gooey and liquidy than French style. They're more cooked. Uh, you you can eat them in a hurry very easily. They go down very easily, and they're very good for big bites. You can take big bites, and they're very nice to have big bites of. You don't necessarily need to take small bites. French scrambled eggs are more. They should be a homogeneous, creamy texture that you do very slowly with plenty of stuff, plenty of butter and stuff, but less heavily seasoned. And ideally with chives, but I never use chives because I never have chives. Uh, these ones are more of a, I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna eat some fucking scrambled eggs kind of situation, because you have to put effort. You have to stand there on and off the heat, probably on and off the heat, scrambling, scrambling to get that perfect texture. And it's almost like eating yogurt or something. They should be creamy, super creamy, and this way it feels more like a luxurious experience rather than this rustic experience. But also, it can be a little, it can be a little bit of a esoteric kind of the class thing, where the aristocracy is adventurous and like these obscure things, kind of like exotic meats, where arguably some would say, not me, but some people think that that style of scrambled eggs is too soft and too undercooked. I have a friend who doesn't like that. He thinks they're too undercooked. For me, they're pretty much perfect. But it's kind of one of these things where people are eating undercooked eggs essentially because it's the more luxurious thing. Then you've got non-scrambled omelette. Omelette also comes in these two varieties, but I've never eaten or made a French omelette before properly, so I'll just ignore that because it's too difficult. It's probably not that hard, but I can't fucking be bothered to learn how to do that shit. So, the classic omelette that I make is normally. Oh yeah, the other thing is I always put cheese. Cheese and eggs is the classic combination. Cheddar. I always use cheddar. Um, with an omelette, you gotta, there's kind of a debate in my brain. There's a debate over whether you want browning on the bottom of your omelette or not, and how dense you want it as well. Some people, I'm talking about me only here. This is only analysis of how I enjoy eggs. So when I say some people, I mean me sometimes. Some people like like a kind of fluffy omelette. And the way I normally get a fluffy omelette is to beat the eggs a little more. Not too much, you don't want them to become crazy, but just get a little more air into the eggs when you're beating them. And then what I'll normally do is I will cook it on one side, but then put it under the grill or the broiler to finish it. And for some reason that makes the eggs kind of puff up and make them a little more airy. That one's good. Cheese on it, always good. Cheese on it. And then you've got the folded omelette, which has a more of an appeal that it's kind of more varied texture. That when you're biting into it, because you fold it, right, you're getting the texture. It's almost like a burger where there's this shell containing the center with all the cheese in it. That shit's good. But they're both good. And normally, the thing about browning is that the browning is weird. Sometimes it's a nice alternate flavor, but other times I experience it as something bad. So God knows what that means. And there are your homogeneous eggs. your beaten eggs, your omelets and your scrambled is. Next up is your other ones. Classic fried eggs. Fried eggs, the way I do them, baste them in olive oil so that the top cooks. Baste them in olive oil. You guys in America have it over easy where you flip them over. We don't have that over here. We don't flip shit. We don't flip nothing. I've never flipped nothing in my life and I don't ever intend to. If you have if you have harder yolks, I don't really trust you as a person. Egg yolks have to be runny, otherwise you may as well just kill yourself. Um, with a nice fried egg, what I'm looking for is decadence, because you can get the exact same experience with a fried egg, pretty much the same flavor. If you're doing a bland fried egg, you can get the same or better flavor, if you're doing a bland fried egg with a poached egg, and we'll get to that in a second. So, if you're doing a fried egg, I want to fucking know that it's been fried, and that means lacy, crispy edges. What I'm looking for in a fried egg is that around the edges, lacy, crispy edges. Bite into it, get a little bit of texture in it. That's what makes it unique and perfect for me. You want to be able to cut that yolk and it's completely runny, no overcooked yolk, lacy, crispy edges. That's that good shit. And this represents a an example of all of the textures and parts of the egg perfected, because you've got the egg comes in two parts, the whites and the yolks. So you have the duality of man, crispy yolk, crispy white edges, inside yolk holds gooey center of truth. Duality of man. Next up, poached eggs. Poached eggs are just better fried eggs if you don't want them crispy. If you don't want your fried eggs crispy, there's no reason to fry it. You just have to poach it. It's infinitely better in every single possible way. Poached eggs are my other favorite type of egg. Personally, the reason I like poached eggs so much is that it's the perfect, I've never seen this in real life because I don't use Instagram, but I watch enough cooking YouTube to know that it's an Instagram thing to have the yolk running out. It's the perfect image of you put the egg on like some toast or something, and you break the yolk and you cut the toast in half, and then the yolk leaks out in a beautiful LCL, and you get this yolk. And it's the perfect, fried eggs are good for this, but poached eggs are the perfect yolk as a seasoning. I mean, yolk as a sauce. Yolk as a sauce. Like a carbonara type of situation. People will say, a fry up's gotta be a fry up. I'm not gonna say nothing about a fry up not being a fry up. If you're gonna have a fry up, it's gotta be a fry up. You can't have a poach up. You can't have a poached up. That's gotta be a fry up. But if you wanna have the great experience that is eggs on toast and the yolk is soaked into the toast, that is the ultimate life purpose of a poached egg. The whites have a different consistency, not slimy, but also somehow gelatinized almost. You get these whites, and the outside becomes akin to a cloud submerged in this water. Problem arises sometimes of the inside of the whites being not quite cooked enough. That's fine. It's not fine. You don't want it, but it's a worthy goal. Poached eggs, you can season them on top, and this leads to an interesting dynamic where you normally have salt and pepper on the top, but because unlike a fried egg, which is mostly flat, a poached egg is mostly round. So then you have an actual variety of seasonings in the different layers of the egg. That's an interesting concept. Next up, we have poached egg, but the shell's still on. This is also known as a boiled egg. It's also never known as a poached egg with the shell still on. It's only ever known as a boiled egg. Boiled eggs Um, they're good. All eggs are good. I respect them all. But boiled eggs have a particular essence to them. For me, they bring back flavors of childhood nostalgia. And this way, we're flipping the poached and fried dichotomy on its head. Because with poached and fried on toast, the goal is to cut the yolk and have the yolk consume the bread. Have the yolk enfold the bread like a phagocyte. Whereas with a boiled egg, you want to cut the bread up into thin strips and dip it. You want to dip it into the egg. There is a problem, a huge glaring problem with the boiled egg, which is seasoning it. It sucks. You fucking boil an egg, you cut the top open, you put some salt and pepper on it, then you take a spoonful and you've eaten all the salt and pepper, and now it's unseasoned again. How you solve this problem is by being into Marmite and or Vegemite. Therefore, you put the Marmite and or Vegemite onto, not and or, you don't want to put Marmite and Vegemite. You want to put Marmite or Vegemite on the toast that you're dipping into the boiled egg. That way, Marmite and Vegemite are both salty, very salty, which is why people don't like them. You don't put that much. But this way, you dip the Vegemite containing vehicle and eat it, it seasons the egg. But this is the key. Inevitably, a small amount of salty goodness is left on the inside of the egg. And then you can spoon that out and it seasons the egg for you. It's actually magical. The textures of a boiled egg are insane. Without ever coming in contact with the medium it was cooked in, the whites essentially turn into a they're very dense. They're very very dense. Unlike a poached egg, where the whites are quite fluffy and cloud-like, because or something along those lines, or lacy and crispy, you get these densely compacted whites, and you can spoon through them and they're like ice cream. And that's eggs. I probably missed some of the more esoteric egg varieties, but I don't do that. I'm a simple egg, and I have my eggs simple. Duality of man. Eggs, the duality of man. Take one egg. Big egg, 2 egg. Inside each egg is... Eggs are massively symbolically charged. The egg is a food from an animal. What is the philosophy of taking life from animals? There's vast. Do you know what's fucked up? You get into anime, right? You get into anime and you watch Cowboy Bebop. You watch Cowboy Bebop and you're like, wow. I can't believe something like this exists. Such a fucking intelligent, mature story in this crazy, inventive setting with these characters that never leave your mind afterwards. And you watch it and you're like, wow. And this is only like the third anime I've ever seen. I can't wait. Just imagine how much good, amazing, deep, mature storytelling is out there in this medium that I'm just exploring. If this is the first one, and then you find out that there's like 2 others, and that's it, and that it's all bullshit, and that it's 99% mediocre harem shows, fucking corny as shit, all over the place pacing, no animation budget, space operas from the fucking 80s and 90s that everyone says is amazing, but actually are boring as shit and fucking generic and tell the same story that Gundam told back in fucking, what, 10 years prior. but just worse. And then you're like, what do I do now? Do I get into shonen? Because no shonen is as good as Cowboy Bebop. Not even close. Even no, that no shonen is as good as Cowboy Bebop. Do I just? You have to specialize, but there is no. You specialize in Cowboy Bebop. There's no other shows that are even. There's like three. You got Bebop, Trigun, and Samurai Champloo. That's it. And Trigun and Samurai Champloo aren't as good as Bebop. So that's it. You got Bebop and that's it. And so you start someone off. When someone recommends the first anime be Bebop, you show them this thing and they're like, wow, so this is what anime is. And then you're setting them up for the worst disappointment of their fucking life. Because it doesn't exist. It's an anomaly. It's the only thing in the world that is like that. Stop recommending people Cowboy Bebop who haven't already had at least a year's experience in anime so they can see the absolute dog shit that is 99% of shows. Because it's all fucking awful. It's all god awful. You just have to find a type of awful that you're okay putting up with. That's what being an otaku is. It's finding a type of it's having like a few shows that when you first watch them were the most amazing thing in the world, and then the rest of your life just finding a type of awful that you can put up with because you're desperately chasing the high of the first time you saw Serial Experiments Lane, or the first time you saw fucking Dragon Ball Z, or Cowboy Bebop, or Gundam Wing, or any of these fucking things. Or K-On, or I don't know. That's what being an otaku is. It's finding, it's chasing a high that doesn't exist, and just putting up with fucking bullshit. And then, if you're really stupid, if you're really mentally ill, turning it into a competition where you try and put up with more bullshit than anyone else so that you can fucking database it. You can say this is bullshit in this way and this is bullshit in this way. That's what it fucking is. If you're really stupid. Anime was a mistake. Completely unironically. They should only have ever made like fucking 3 of them. And the rest of them are utterly worthless to society. If you hadn't noticed already, this is a back to my roots. I'm fucking sick of talking about 2005 anime, and I just want to make Insomnia Analysis ripoffs forever. Because they're the only good videos. I kind of don't understand why anyone would watch any of my anime videos, because I don't know enough about anime to be an anomaly. I have no unique selling point. The only unique selling point is that I'm fucking insane. And even then, why is that entertaining to anyone other than me? The real reason I can see my anime videos existing is essentially for posterity, as no one is going to talk about some of these shows. No one has ever talked about Mahoraba, except they have. I found other reviews on it while I was doing research for that video. And the Mahoraba video is shit. It's one of the worst videos in the entire series because I just finished it and I was obsessed with it, and I was like, I just need to gush about this for an hour without really having had time to mull over what the themes were and stuff like that. So, this is in fact the start of a new series. You've been watching it the whole time, and you know that because it's in the title, but I've only known that it's in the title just now. It's called The Sacred Cow. The Sacred Cow. It's pronounced cow, and I bet you thought it was pronounced Chao, like in fucking Sonic Adventure, but no. It's the Sacred Cow. Sometimes CH can be pronounced just a k sound in the English language. It does exist. It is within the rules. And therefore, it's called the Sacred the sacred cow. And do you get it? Do you get it? It's chaos, but it's the sacred cow. And I didn't come up with this joke. This is from the Principia Discordia. It's also on my fucking wall. And here is the illusion breaker. 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 It's fucking like 7:43 a.m. It's not even nighttime at all. I've been awake for ages. I was memeing you by making you think this is one of them videos where I point the camera at my ThinkPad and ramble, when in reality it was planned that way as a callback to my earlier videos, which was thematically relevant because I was talking about going back to my roots. Remember how I made a whole video about how YouTubers never think through their shots? This is what I'm talking about. YouTubers should think through their shots. Bam. There's the sacred cow on my wall. I drew that while I was on LSD. Because I was reading the Principia Discordia, which you should all read too. But really, this series has nothing to do with Discordianism, but it might. In fact, I'm actually probably going to talk about some semi-Discordian things in the next episode. But this is it. You're here. This is my gecko estate. This is my insomnia analysis. This is my meta hole. Okay? And it used to be called fuck, or it used to just have random names. But that doesn't work necessarily. It can work with those type of videos, but one of the key points here with these type of videos is their interconnectedness, the fact that they are holistic. They represent something holistic. So you're in the fucking sacred cow now. You're praying to the motherfucking sacred cow now. 4444 gang. You know how the fuck it is. You want to see what's going on over here? This is pizza, which I'm probably going to get fucking salmonella from. And this is fucking notes on a fucking light novel that I'm reading, because the light novel's too confusing for me to understand it without having to take literal notes on a piece of paper. I fucking hate writing. Do you see my fucking handwriting? Can you see my handwriting? I'm basically like a brain-dead 2-year-old. Can you understand what that says? Can you understand what any of this says? No, because I'm a brain-dead 2-year-old. What was the point of this section? So, once again, this is your poignant conclusion. This is your satisfying ending to the video. And, you know, sometimes I think, wow, that's super obvious. I should fucking make my point a little less, like, on the nose, because it's kind of stupid if I make something so on the nose. But then I've realised that every time I've thought that, recently I've realised, I've had this sudden epiphany, that every time I've done something that I thought, this is way too on the nose, it's going to come off as corny and low effort, not a single person has ever noticed that, like, what I'm trying to say. That the things I think are obvious are never obvious for anyone else. I mean, obvious example is my Hidamari sketch bath scenes analysis video, which Digibro infamously completely missed the point of what he called random clips, when they were actually a metatextual element. The reason I put those clips in there is because the message of the video is the interpretation of life as art, and those clips are me interpreting things that wouldn't normally be considered art as art. Do you get it? Do you get another classic example? To the Fairest is a album which is an exploration, a postmodernist deconstruction of pop and guitar music, and understanding rock's music in the modern electronic pop landscape. To me, it's super obvious. No one else gets it. Or, No Thank You Volume 2 tells an actual story. Each track is a story beat. It tells a 3-act narrative not according to the hero's journey, but that sort of story. It tells a narrative like a fucking prog album about a guy who is fed up with work. He's in a dead-end job. This is how does Volume 2 go again? Irreplaceable, right, is about how is about a guy who's like fucking sick of working every day and getting nowhere in his life, and he's thinking to himself how the system is designed to make work irreplaceable, right? That's what irreplaceable, it's by design, someone designed it this way, right? Uh, and then he gets into like a political movement with a bunch of people, and then they all get together and they decide to be a political movement to be like some sort of, it's not clear in the story, but I was thinking like some sort of leftist political, like pro-union type of movement, or possibly even like a communist kind of movement. But it doesn't actually affect the story what kind of movement it is. But that sort of thing, like a social advocacy activist movement, and he becomes like the leader of this advocacy movement. And you know, there's a song in one of the songs he was talking about killing Nazis. He's like, fuck Nazis, you know, he's a left-wing guy, and then accidentally sets off a chain of events which lead to the total nuclear destruction of the world. And then he's like, oh fuck, I've set off a chain of events that lead to the total nuclear destruction of the world. And then he's like freaking out, and then as the bombs are dropping, nuclear annihilation skank, he realizes, you know what, this is actually fucking sick. It solves all my problems. Nuclear war now, it solves all my problems. And that's why it's a happy ska song. It's too late, we can't turn round, so let's get so high we never come down. We should have stopped by now, but let's keep going till it all comes down. That's the hook of Nuclear Annihilation Skank. And everything's crashing and burning, the world's going up in nuclear hell, but it's kind of sick, and everyone's happy because it's the fall of the old world order, and it's actually a time for rebirth. It's like a phoenix from the ashes. But the album doesn't stop there. It keeps going, and then it's about fucking Mad Max style fucking gangs roaming in this new world, fucking killing each other, warring for food and power, and no one understands this, except when I was making it, it was so obvious. It was so obvious to me when I was making it, that when I uploaded it to Bandcamp, I was like, this is so corny that I have to fucking pull a Haruhi and flip track locations so that the story's out of order. And even then I was like, this is still so obvious that the stories are out of order. Even the titles are too obvious. I'm a fucking idiot. Except no one got it. So, this video, did you notice I started it off by analysing a food item? Just like the fucking bagel analysis at the beginning of Insomnia Analysis by Digibro? Was that a coincidence? No! There you go. There is your fucking satisfying conclusion, which is that none of this is real. You're nuts. I'm nuts. The world is a lie. Read Horizon in the Middle of Nowhere. Kill yourself. Kill yourself. Kill yourself. Kill yourself. 444 gang. The Sacred fucking Cow. Coming to your screens every day of the week, every Monday at 6 a.m, every Wednesday at 2:45. You know what I'm fucking saying? It's the fucking video, and we're here, and we're having fun in the video. Here. And this is the end of the video, and that's what it is. And you're here, and I'm here, and it's all a fucking grand and circular narrative. And really, it's like postmodern and like a deconstruction. But actually, it's not at all, in any way. Because no one can tell, because it's all nonsense. And you're here, and we're talking to each other, and we're having fun, and it's the video. And really, that's what matters. And it's the Sacred Cow, and something is happening, and that's it. And then we're all happy, you know? Then we're all happy. And then we can all go home and laugh and jovially be happy. And that's really what matters. So, thanks for watching. Have a nice day. You're not real. You're not real.